Right now, in Rome, there's an uneasy calm that fills the air, a sense that something important is happening behind the old walls of the Vatican. The silence is not peaceful, but tense. Every hallway, every chapel, every corner seems to echo with quiet conversations, anxious glances, and the worry of what tomorrow might bring. The Church's faithful look to Pope Leo XIV for answers, but instead of certainty, they find themselves lost in new confusion. Recent actions, fresh appointments, sudden promotions, unexpected confirmations have not brought stability or relief. Instead, they have opened up old wounds and exposed doubts that have haunted the Vatican for years. The sense that Pope Leo is standing still, frozen at the center of a storm, only makes people more nervous. He is the figurehead of the world's largest church, but it's unclear if he's truly calling the shots or if he's stuck in a web of power, tradition, and secrets too deep for one person to unravel. Is Pope Leo really able to lead, or is he trapped by a system bigger than himself? This is the question pressing on the minds of everyone: priests, cardinals, ordinary Catholics who care about the direction of the Church. Scandal and disappointment are not new to those who follow news from the Vatican. For decades, headlines have screamed about internal crises, promises of reform, and public outrage. Yet again and again, little seems to change. In the background, the Secretariat of State, which controls much of the Vatican's daily life, appears to move in its own way, often untouched by the problems that keep believers awake at night. One recent example has shocked many. Carlo Capella, a priest convicted of terrible misconduct, was not only shielded from true punishment but quietly brought back into a high role within the Vatican's diplomatic service. At first he returned without much attention. Later he was given an important title. When asked to explain this, a Vatican spokesperson shrugged it off, calling it mercy. But for whom? Certainly not for the victims or for the everyday Catholics left struggling to defend their faith in a skeptical world. Even when the United States government asked for Capella to be handed over, the Vatican refused. Capella returned to Rome, if sure that he would be looked after, not judged. The only visible change was a title: no longer Monsignor, just Reverend, but his role as a priest remained untouched. Sadly, this isn't an isolated event. The Vatican has a history of protecting or even promoting leaders who have been involved in scandals. Bernard Law was rewarded with a grand basilica. Theodore McCarrick was sent on missions around the world. Despite his troubling history, time after time, it seems the same cycle repeats. These choices leave Catholics wondering if the Pope understands what's happening or if he is choosing to look away. Is he overwhelmed by a culture that makes it easier to ignore or forgive wrongdoing than to challenge it? Or has he, even with good intentions, already become another part of a broken pattern? Some glimmers of hope have shown through. When Marco Rupnik, a Jesuit artist, was accused of grave misconduct, Pope Leo demanded his work be removed from Vatican websites and called for a quick trial. It was a rare moment where many saw a real effort to confront wrongdoing. Still, a single action cannot heal the deep and tangled problems that seem to define the Church's system of power. Trouble is not confined to Rome. Across the ocean, in Peru, another controversy has erupted. Pope Leo recently confirmed Carlo Castillo, Cardinal and Archbishop of Lima, to remain in his post until the age of 80, a decision that stunned many and was widely reported on Catholic news platforms. Castillo's leadership has caused anger and hurt. He brought rituals honoring Pachamama, or Mother Earth, into his cathedral. He allowed hymns to be sung to her during Mass, and claimed that nobody is converted before the tabernacle, a remark that many found deeply offensive. He forced changes in how communion was given, making it only available in the hand, even if some believers wanted to kneel and receive it on the tongue. Castillo also said that parishes should be run by lay people, not priests, following European trends he himself criticized. His statement that Jesus died not as a priest but as a murdered layman shocked his flock. Administratively, things were just as troubling. Dozens of priests removed simply for being too Catholic, staff numbers inflated, salaries rising for Castillo's loyal friends, and programs for the poor quietly cut. Money that once helped children and families seemed to vanish without explanation. With such controversy swirling, why would Pope Leo confirm Castillo? Was it a move of approval, or was it an attempt to avoid a showdown with powerful forces? Maybe it was a sign that, even at the highest level, some leaders feel powerless to challenge the system that now surrounds them. People watching from outside are left wondering, whose church is this becoming? Who is truly being served? As these events unfold, voices of protest are growing louder. Bishop Athanasius Schneider, speaking to a group devoted to Our Lady of Fatima, reminded Catholics that a pope's deepest duty is to appoint shepherds worthy of the flock's trust. In blunt words, he warned, when bishops cause confusion and push ideas outside the gospel, it's like sending wolves into the sheepfold. His challenge was clear: the pope cannot pretend he holds no responsibility. Every decision will weigh on his soul. Though Pope Leo's reign is new, Bishop Schneider believes the early signs are deeply troubling, and sometimes it is better to leave a diocese empty than hand it over to someone unreliable or compromised. Schneider also raised another concern he described as the growing mistreatment of those who love the old Latin Mass. While the Vatican bends over backward for almost every group, the traditionalists, he said, are singled out, their numbers slashed overnight, their way of worship quietly erased. He called what happened in Detroit a sudden drop from 28 to only 4 churches allowed to celebrate the old Mass intolerable, and pleaded for the Pope to stop this injustice. So far, Pope Leo has remained silent in the face of these attacks. But his silence is not calming anyone's fears. Instead, Catholics everywhere are left to guess what he really thinks. Is this the new direction for the Church, where ancient traditions are silenced, while those who damage its credibility are protected? Is this what Pope Leo truly wants, or is he doing what he feels he must in a world filled with hidden pressures and strong-willed advisors? In this moment, the future feels uncertain. Catholics everywhere hope and pray for clarity and courage. They want leaders who will truly protect the innocent, honor tradition, and speak out against wrongdoing. But as new headlines arrive, each day filled with confusing appointments and strange decisions, doubt keeps growing. Some worry that Pope Leo is stuck trapped by advisors or larger forces who push their own plans. Others wonder if he believes compromise is the only way to avoid disaster and keep the Church from splitting apart. There is a long tradition in the Vatican of protecting the Church's image by covering up trouble, forgiving leaders who have stumbled, or quietly moving problems out of view. Some see this as mercy, others see it as a deep sickness, one that ignores the real suffering of victims and makes true healing impossible. When the Vatican restricts traditional worship or punishes those who speak out for old ways, it sends a message: only some voices matter now. Only some beliefs are welcome. But even in these dark times there is always hope. The Catholic Church has faced storms before, times when it felt like the whole world was watching, waiting for something to break. Now, with so much at stake, Catholics everywhere are waiting again. They want honest answers and real change. They want leaders with the courage to face the truth, to care for the weak, and to remember why the Church exists at all. Some look at Pope Leo and see a leader struggling with impossible choices. Others see someone unable or unwilling to push back against the forces around him. But nobody can ignore the pressure of this moment, because whatever happens in Rome will affect millions across the world. The real test, in the end, is not just for Pope Leo, but for everyone in the Church. Are they willing to ask hard questions, to look at pain and failure honestly, and to work together for something better? Only time will tell if the Vatican can break free from the habits and patterns that have trapped it for so long. Until then, the tension in Rome will continue, and the eyes of the world will remain fixed on the heart of the Catholic Church, waiting and hoping for true change. Right now, in Rome, there's an uneasy calm that fills the air, a sense that something important is happening behind the old walls of the Vatican. The silence is not peaceful, but tense. Every hallway, every chapel, every corner seems to echo, with quiet conversations, anxious glances, and the worry of what tomorrow might bring. The Church's faithful look to Pope Leo XIV for answers, but instead of certainty, they find themselves lost in new confusion. Recent actions, fresh appointments, sudden promotions, unexpected confirmations have not brought stability or relief. Instead, they have opened up old wounds and exposed doubts that have haunted the Vatican for years. The sense that Pope Leo is standing still, frozen at the center of a storm, only makes people more nervous. He is the figurehead of the world's largest church, but it's unclear if he's truly calling the shots or if he's stuck in a web of power.